Welcome to Paranormal Unwrapped with Krista Raisa and Jack Roth. Krista is a channel teacher and artist. Jack is an investigative journalist, award-winning filmmaker, and a recent creator of J3 Films Extraordinary The Seeding, available on Amazon Prime and YouTube. And today we are interviewing Fay Vale, and she's had extraordinary experiences in the United Kingdom in a very specific area where they've had UFO sightings. And since then, she's going to tell us a little bit about herself. She's born right-handed, but she's begun channeling incredible artwork, which she may or may not show us today, due to her contact experience, we're assuming. Is that correct, Faye, in that this was a result of the experiences that you've had?
Yes. I'd never drawn before, and I left school at an early age because there was a family of 4 children, so I never went to university or college or anything. So I went straight into an ordinary job. So I never had any training in it. And when the last, I've actually had 3 UFO experiences, but lots of stuff after the last one in 2007. But after the one in 2007, 2 weeks later, that was quite a close encounter. And 2 weeks later, I was diving out of bed at 3 o'clock in the morning looking for paper and pens and knowing I compulsed to draw, not knowing why. And using my left hand as I'm right-handed, it was very strange. But later on, I realised that the ETs wouldn't use my normal hand, because if I drew an image with my normal hand and it didn't look correct, then my mind would say, that's wrong, you put that in the wrong place, and you'd be rubbing it out or covering it up because it wasn't correct. So what they did, they went on the opposite side that I don't normally use, which was a free channel, because anybody knows if they use a dominant hand and then try to do it with the other one, you can't get the same results because there's not the control there. So that was really clever, to take it in through a clear channel. And for a start, it must have been a couple of weeks I was just scribbling like a 2-year-old. But I was up at all hours, or didn't know what I was drawing, nothing. And then one day, as I was drawing, the image of a fish came. And I thought, wow, at last I've recognised something, And then after that, it just escalated, and I started drawing tanks, warships, aeroplanes, landing sites, grave sites. The grave sites even had the information with them, and checked it out on the internet, and it was, it was true. And one day I got a drawing of 2 guys who were worked on a submarine, and it had their name and the name of the submarine, and I looked it up, and the submarine was a Russian submarine that went down in the war. So that came as well. But as it progressed, it went on from warships, tanks, all sorts of war stuff. And then it went on to rocket sites, and I was drawing rocket sites. Well, I've never had any interest in anything like that. I mean, I've got 3 children. I was just an ordinary housewife with children. And of course, from the rocket sites, we went on to maps in the universe, different maps where the ships went to, and drawing ships, and even information about landing sites on different planets. And it just went crazy. And I had information as well. At one time, I got information saying exactly where there was going to be sightings on such and such a date in England. And I wrote it down. It was in September. I can't remember exactly. I have got it wrote down, but I can't remember exactly where it was. And of course, when that time came, I'm searching all the news to see if these ships were spotted. There was absolutely nothing. And then exactly a year later, I was shopping and there was this magazine, and splashed across the front was like a message that said all these people had seen these UFOs. So I bought it, looked inside, and it was the exact places and the exact date. But it took somebody a year to report it, but it was spot on. And I get information about different wars that's going on this planet, and about pollution and all different things, because the ETs are trying to help us in many, many ways.
So let's go back a little bit. So, and we're definitely going to get into detail about the things you're actually drawing, including the animals, the I would say humanoid, other ETs, and also the writing, which is very interesting. But can you tell us about can you tell us about your UFO experiences leading up to and including the one that triggered the writing?
Yeah, I'm going back to, I was in my early 20s, and I was married then at the time. I had a small child and another one on the way. Unfortunately, my husband died very young, so we didn't, that never happened. But when he was alive, we lived in the Midlands, which is in the middle of the UK, and we had friends around one night chatting and drinking coffee, and my husband went to bed because he'd got to go to work in the morning, so he had to be up. And it was, the friends didn't go till gone 11 o'clock at night, so I said to him, "Oh, you pop off bed then, and I'll wash the dishes up and the cups that they've had, and I'll be up to bed." So he went off to bed, and I washed the things up. But at that time, we had a milkman, so they would deliver milk in a glass bottle on your doorstep. When you'd finish with the milk, you'd wash the bottle out, put it on the doorstep, and they'd exchange it in the morning. So my last job was to wash this milk bottle and pop it on the doorstep as I went up the stairs to bed. And I went, as I went to the door, I opened the door, bent down and put the bottle on the step, and I heard this really deep humming sound, and it just went as it was like 12 o'clock at night. The whole of the road was in darkness. I thought, where's that coming from? And I looked up, and straight above the houses was a massive orange cigar-shaped craft. Of course, I didn't know what it was at the time because I'd never had any experiences, but it was huge. And as it made the humming noise, it sort of went brighter and duller. So it was pulsating with the humming noise, but it was stationary. And it just sat there. Well, it just scared the hell out of me. So I ran in and shut the door. And I stood in the hallway, and I could still hear this humming noise. So I stood there for about 5 minutes, wondering, what to do next. And I then move the blind and have a look, because I didn't know what would be the other side of it. But I did get up the courage. I did get up the courage to go to the door again, and I opened the door and looked up, and it was still there, and it just sat there. And I must have been looking at it for 5 minutes. It never moved, and I just shut the door, went to bed, and never even thought about it the next morning. It never even came in my mind the next morning.
Did it feel like it was connecting with yourself, or it was just there in the environment? Did you feel a connection to that at the time?
Sort of, because I was very drawn to it. As soon as you looked at it, you was really drawn to it. But what happened after then was I became very interested in paranormal things. and I'd see spirits and spirit people, which had not happened before, and I could feel energies and things, and it got so intense with me that I began a paranormal group myself.
Wow.
So
and that's not, Faye, that's not uncommon for people who have a UFO experience, and then all of a sudden they start having ghost, other paranormal types of experiences. And we've heard this a million times before. That happened to Stan Romanek. It happens to a lot of people. So the fact that happened, and then it's almost like something was triggered or woken up in you, right? Or turned on, so to speak.
Well, thank you for saying that, because I channel a council that look like amphibious frog people, and they said that 2 or 3 years ago, that went after this experience, many people will be seeing ghosts, and I'm not believing it until now. So thank you for that story.
Well, I mean, I had one experience, and I was shopping, and it was middle of the daytime, and there used to be a quick way home, but you had to go under this old railway bridge. But I used to be paranoid about going under it, because I used to think, if you're going to get mugged, it'll be under that bridge. So I would always wait at the bridge till it was clear and nobody was coming the other way. And this particular day, and I'm talking like just lunchtime, I went to go under the bridge, and there was this guy coming towards me. And he had, I can remember him, he had a long black coat on, and he had black sort of baggy trousers, but he walked really funny, and his feet went like that, like a penguin, and he walked like that. And I thought, oh, he's a strange guy. I'll wait till he comes out the tunnel. But he never came out. And I waited and waited, and he didn't come out. So I went in the tunnel, and I looked the other end where there's literally one path, and I would have seen him. He wasn't there. But the funny thing was, a friend rang me in the evening, and I was telling her about the experience, and she said to me, "That's Pete the Feet." I went, "Who?" She said,
you know.
That's awesome.
She said, "It's Pete the Feet." What do you mean, Pete the Feet? Apparently, this guy was called Pete the Feet because he walked funny. And apparently, he used to walk the streets, but he was a bit simple, and his mother died. This is a story. His mother died, and his elder brother was supposed to look after him, keep his eye on for him, but he didn't. And this guy used to walk the streets, and people would give him a meal. But apparently he died years before, and there was no way I even knew about him. But I saw him as plain as plain. And that was in the middle of the day, in pure daylight.
Wow. So you saw like a full form apparition.
Yeah. Well, that's happened several times. It got so common that, when I did my paranormal stuff, people used to say, "How dare you do it? Aren't you scared?" But you're not scared, because it just becomes something you accept,
Sure, right. So what happened? What was so that led up to the experience that then you had another experience that led to the writing. Is that correct?
No, there was one in between. When my boys were about 11 and 15, something like that, they used to go night fishing because we had water near us where they could fish. And this particular night, they said to me, "Can you get us up at 3 a.m, Mum? We're going fishing." So poor old Mum had to put the alarm on 2 in the morning to pat the boys up. So my alarm went off at 2, and I dived out of bed, and of course I looked out the window to see whether it was wet or dry, because they were going fishing. And as I looked out my window, there was like there were stars, but they were in a funny shape. You know, like the number 5 on a domino, where you've got 4 corners and 1 in the middle, and they just sat there like that in that formation, but really sort of close together. So I'm looking at them and I'm thinking, that's really strange. I've never seen stars like that before. And as I looked at them, they suddenly just started darting all over the place at ridiculous speeds and angles. And this was another time I stood looking at them for a good 10 minutes. Then I thought I better sort the boys out, and I left it. So that was like maybe 11 years after the first experience, but in between, all the paranormal stuff was happening. And then in 2007, which was a number of years again after, what happened, because I'd got my paranormal group, we used to have meetings where different paranormal groups would meet up and they'd share their experiences and what they'd caught on film or what they'd caught on audio. And it was sort of like a night where we all shared evidence. And I went with a friend, and we was there till 12 o'clock at night, because the place where it was held was supposed to have been haunted by a young boy. So we was talking to the owner. So it was 12 o'clock at night. So we thought we'd better get off home. And we went to her car, got in her car, and going back home, we had to wind down country roads, just narrow roads, which are not very well lit, as you know, when you're in the country. And we're driving along, and all of a sudden, she's driving. I'm sitting this side because the driver's on the right over here. And all of a sudden, this big white owl just flew straight across the windscreen and settled in the tree at the side of me. And it made me jump. It just went. And I said to her, "Well, did you see that owl?" She said, "Yeah." She said, "That's unusual for around here. You don't see many of those." And it just sat in the tree. Mm-hmm. Next thing we know, we're going down this country lane. It's narrow like this, so where one has to pull over to let the other one by. And there's this light coming towards us on the road. Well, because it was a distance away, it looked like somebody had got the lights on full beam. Sometimes it looks like one light when the two bright lights are on together. But it's coming towards us at speed, and it's really, really bright. And the nearer it got, the bigger it got, till it was filling the whole of the road. And if I can get my hand in, if that was our car, it was just coming like that at us at tremendous speed. Well, it got that close that we thought it was going to hit us, whatever it was. And she slammed her brake on, and we come to a massive hole. And all of a sudden, it just went and shot backwards, disappeared in seconds. Nothing. But the weirdest thing was, as bright and as big as it was, because it was just like a big, massive, bright, round ball, you could still look at it. Anything normal, you would have been dazzled by it, but you could look at it. And it was 2 weeks after that my art started. But the lady who was in the car with me, she never had anything. It was just me. And ever since then, it's never stopped.
Wow.
Never stopped.
Those white owls are normally in the snowy owls in the cold regions. I don't think they. Was this in Leicester?
Leicester. It's called Leicester. No, I lived in Lincolnshire then, which is not far from Leicester, but it's more coastal. But
okay.
Yeah.
Well, and that's another thing too, though, is that that's like a screen image of ETs. So people see owls in their window. They see owls outside at night, and just before they get abducted, they remember owls. They don't remember little grays. They remember owls until they regressed, and then the owl wasn't an owl; it was a gray. So
what is it with the owls? They choose this.
Yeah, screen memory for it. Oh yeah, it's an owl. Who knows why they choose? Right, I know that's really weird, but that's incredible. So you now all of a sudden this happens to you, and you're you're drawing with your hand that you never used to draw.
Yeah.
And you're getting this information downloaded to you. How do you react to this? You first of all, personally, and then also you have a family. You have it. You work. We're going to get to your job in a second because there's something I want to talk about with that. But how does all that? How do you deal with this now?
I'll tell you how I dealt with it. I wrote diaries, and I've got all my diaries of what happened to me, and all the sightings, and when I had visitations in my bedroom and everything. Even instruments that would float around my bedroom, I drew them. So I've got diaries of all that. That's the only way I could do it, because I never told after my first husband died, I got remarried again to the guy I'm with now, John. And I never told John, because how can you tell your husband or your nearest and dearest that you're contacting ETs? John doesn't believe in anything like that. We're totally opposite. He does more now, but he didn't before. But we're totally opposite on that. So I just never told anybody. I just wrote it down.
Wow. Was that isolating for you?
Oh, very much so. It still is in lots of ways, because lots of people don't, as Krista knows, if she's had experiences, there's people you can talk to and people who you can't talk to. And
there's people, I know a family of people where most of the family members are open to these sorts of things. And then there's the one or two that they just don't want to. They just choose to.
Yeah, there's always exactly right. There's always one, debunker in the group at a family dinner. But yeah, so that's amazing. I wanted to go back a little bit here, because this is something that clicked with me and kind of put this together when I was reading your introduction in the book. You had mentioned that you work for Marconi radar systems.
Oh, I did. Yeah, I used when the boys were little, I used to do cleaning there, and they made nuclear submarines there. Oh, yeah, they drew plans up for them.
Okay, so I don't know if you were aware of this, but the Marconi, they were involved in the Star Wars project, where they were trying to weaponize space, and they were doing a lot of different stuff at Marconi. Yeah. And they had, and again, I don't know if you were aware, but there was a very strange kind of couple of years there where a lot of their scientists were dying with these mysterious deaths. And they would, you get like, oh, suicide. Well, it didn't look like suicide. It really wasn't suicide. There was so many that it didn't make sense. There were too many. There were a lot of their scientists were dying.
Yeah.
And there's this whole thing out there on this. And I was wondering whether or not there could have been a correlation between the UFO sightings, what was going on around there, and what was going on at Marconi. Because to me, there's definite link.
Well, it's weird, really, because my father died at the age of 62. But when my father was alive, he worked there too, but he worked there as a clerk. So he did office work. And also in front of Marconi was a golf course. So it was like land with nothing on, basically. And my house was the other side of the golf course. So I could see Marconi across from the golf course. But there was many sightings of ships on the golf course. Lots of neighbours had said they'd seen strange things on there. So, and when I was there, they had massive radar system there, and they used to pick stuff up all the while on that. But wow. Of course, I only worked as a cleaner, but I had to sign the National Secrets Act. And we used to have to go through guarded gates in and out. So it was quite, but of course I wasn't aware that there were all stuff like that going on there. It was just a job to me,
Sure. Yep. Yeah, I just thought that there was an interesting kind of tie in there, but yeah, and you can look it up too if you wanted to look more into, which I don't know if you will, but if you want to even, but yeah, there was stuff going on there in the 80s and 90s that was very top secret, and there was stuff, obviously, if these men were dying mysteriously, there was something going on there.
Oh,
So,
obviously, yeah.
and obviously it seems UFO related if they were landing on the golf course or being seen, you know,
Well,
in the area.
we had a neighbour who lived a few doors away, and he was really like an old-fashioned guy, shall I say. So he wouldn't put up with any nonsense about anything. And he said that he hadn't told many people, but he woke up at 3 a.m. to go to the toilet, and he looked out of his window and he saw a dish-shaped craft land on the golf course. And he said he made his hair stand on end, and he saw it, and he saw it take off as well. So,
Yeah.
and he was the sort of guy who you'd have to believe, because he wouldn't make anything like that up.
Right. He was no nonsense.
That's right. Old school.
So there was this post that I deleted it from my phone, but it's called Ascension Symptoms, where graphics designers will research people's experiences from the forums and compile that into a giant collage. And so this one was describing ascension symptoms. There's thousands of people who believe that the planet is ascending. For instance, a guy in Las Vegas, a friend of mine, was on the street, and this guy comes up to him and says, "Hey, is that your girlfriend? Is that your girlfriend?" And my friend says, "Hey, brother, come give me a hug." And he says, "Who is that? Your girlfriend? You know, what's going on over here?" And he says, my friend says he's from planet in Sirius constellation. And then the guy said, "Oh, you're in that ascension shit." And collage includes all of this phenomena that's becoming, you know, street lingo now, including the 3 a.m. wake up call. Do you guys think there's a science behind this? I had that as well. So what is it about 3 a.m.? Because the witching hour is 12. I don't get why. It's this
I don't know, but it was usually that time.
Yeah.
Or like when I was having the beings in the bedroom, I would stay. I'd stay up as long as I could, because I was scared to go to bed many nights, and I still get lots of marks and bruises and things. Even 2 weeks ago, I had little dots on my arm, which I've had before.
Oh.
And
so you could very well, I mean, there could be an abduction part of this as well, correct?
But once you realise and get the information that this is all about adapting animals and humans to live on other planets, on planets that have been barren for hundreds of thousands of years, they're trying to the ETs are trying to reintroduce life onto them.
Oh, right. I see. So whatever they might be even doing with us in hybridization is to do that. Has to do with trying to.
Well, part of it is, but it's no different to what we're doing, cloning people, and there's all sorts of stuff goes on behind closed doors that we don't know, but which is exactly the same, to be honest, isn't it?
Because
even like the Germans tried to produce a super race, it's the same thing.
And they give astronauts these purple Tesla plates that contain all the minerals of planet Earth, so that their physical body remembers what the Earth substance is. Because the further you go out into space, is your vessel can slowly deteriorate. You're no longer in the gravitational field, so it could only make sense maybe introducing through some sort of injections or whatever they're doing to help us advance. People are so concerned with the overpopulation. Well, maybe we're made to go interstellar and
we'll have to at one point, because the Earth will either disintegrate because of all the bad stuff going on here, or we'll just overpopulate. And let's face it, they're already traveling to Mars and other planets and setting up things. We don't know what they've built up there already. I'm sure you think that as well, Jack. You know?
Right. So let's talk about the artwork. I mean, this is incredible. I mean, this is, you know, when you see this, it's just, it really blows your mind, and it's hard to describe. So Fay, if you had to describe this work of yours, right? How would you describe it?
First of all, I'll say that I never know what I'm going to draw. It starts with a dot or a line, and I never know till it's complete. And sometimes it's drawn on its side, upside down, or I'll just show you this, because I only did this the other week. But if you can see it, that's like, wait a minute, get it in the right place.
Yep, that's good.
Right, so that was done on that side. I turned my book over to put it away, and
oh my God! Wow. So there's like several things going on in one photo, one drawing.
Originally it was that came through, and I just turn my book over and I go, oh my God, look at that.
Yeah. Wow. I thought it was a guy in a chariot, and I thought it seems like a deer or a wolf or something.
It's like some sort of goat or something.
And again, to remind listeners, this is your left hand, which you're a righty.
No,
you are a righty.
I use right hand as well. That's right-handed. But can I say that I do these while I'm watching TV? So I'm watching a program or something in the evening, which is when that was done. So I'm not even hardly looking at what's arriving on the paper.
Wow. It's almost like automatic writing.
Yes, it is, actually. It is.
And this is tattoo artists would take years to develop these styles, you know.
Exactly right. I could see people getting tattoos of this.
Oh, yeah.
So what are okay, so in the book it's separated into animals and beings, and then like a combination of both. And there are some landscapes which are fascinating. It looks like basic structures. Yeah. So they're showing you their world or other worlds.
Yes, yeah. A lot of them are other worlds, and I get drawings of ETs, and they'll tell me what planet they're from, or I get strange writing. This is an example of some. Wait a minute. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Some of it's images, some of it's writing. But what happened was I was getting a lot of writing, and I couldn't understand what the writing meant, obviously. So the idea came, you're in direct contact with them, so ask them to translate it into your own language. Because when the writing comes, it's just words in my head, and I write the words that come down. But so that, although that's ornate writing, it is words in their world. And so I asked if I could have it translated. And for a start, when they translated it, lots of the words, some of it I understood, but not all of it. So we did this thing where we kept practicing. And they said that not all our words were in there. They could get together because they didn't understand our language. But anyway, it works fine now. So when I get writing, or if the ETs come through, I'll get an image of an ET, and I can say, I greet him and I ask him what planet he comes from, or if he's come with a message, and it'll just write. And if it's an ET that's more of a dark energy, usually when the ETs come through, I get really hot. I don't know whether you experience that, Krista, but you feel heat, and it's like a really intense heat.
Yeah.
Like you're really warm.
Or a temperature extreme. Yeah. With this stuff changes. Sure. Yes.
But then sometimes you get darker energies, and you just know that they don't feel right. Although you're still drawing the picture, it doesn't feel right. And when that happens, I'll stop drawing and ask if it's from the pure white light.
Yeah.
And if it's not, my pen automatically scribbles all over the picture. It just goes.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
So then I'll tear it out the book, and I'll just say, I'm not drawing for you, and I'll tear it up, put it in the bin, and then I go and wash my hands underwater, cleanse my hands, and it goes. Yep. But you have to be aware of that.
Oh, very interesting.
That's very helpful. Thank you for the guidance. As you're an open portal, Jack has a question.
Oh, I have a million questions.
Please.
No, go ahead. I just, there's so many, because when I was going through the book, there's a bunch of things that went through my head. First of all, there was a familiarity. I felt a little of that there was ancient Egypt, Sumerian. Some of it was familiar in that way to me.
I was going to ask if it's Egypt. I was going to ask that. I thought, why would I ask that?
And so I guess this question would be, are you also getting that? Is there a connection, or is it you're getting stuff from the past?
Yeah, I get lots of stuff from but then I think, is it the past, or is this already still going on in some other time zone?
Right. Right.
Because lots of things that went on in the past are being brought forward as old wisdom now. So right. It's like you're being reintroduced into it to make you aware. There's one there, look, that's sort of, wait a minute. I don't know whether you can see it.
Yeah, there you go. There's someone like lying in a bed. Is that like, that was an elf or something, correct?
Yeah. It said, she was the mighty elf. She was the one who put forward the hidden laws of the few. She rose from the crown of the Koef in the few hidden planets that have been extinguished. So it's like, it's sort of like when you're at school and you're learning history, except they're giving me stuff that went on in other planets. I don't know how long ago, but a long while ago.
Have you found certain people or individuals are drawn to your artwork? Have you noticed any similarities in the people, or could it just be anybody that has a strong reaction?
Yeah, lots of people will say that they can't stop looking at a certain piece because it just keeps drawing them in. But I think when that happens, that something happens in the consciousness, and it's meant to connect, to be honest.
Right. And are these people, and then I see, I'm analytical. So imagine me trying to analyze these, and I'm like, wait a minute. How's that? So like, I'm like, and I guess my question is, are these beings that you're drawing and the animals, and I noticed that there were a lot of bird-like, insect-like, fish-like.
Right.
So what people have to understand, it's not just you're drawing like something that looks like an elephant. There's stuff that looks like the tiniest little bug or insect, and then there's something that looks like a fish or an eel. But are these are living organisms that are from either different planets or dimensions, and they're also part of, like you said, that maybe they were the DNA manipulated so they could survive on certain planets,
or beings from their planet.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. But the thing is, in order to, if I bring up like Chernobyl, where the massive radiation plant exploded, well,
right.
If we went in there, we'd have to be suited up still because of the radiation, but the animals are thriving there. Yeah, there's wolves and there's horses. There's all sorts of animals thriving, and these animals are radioactive, but they're not dead.
Right.
Some of them are like mutants, where they've probably got no colouring, or they've got strange ears, or an ear missing, or an eye that's different. But
Right.
they're still thriving. And if you look at that, these animals don't look the same because they've been affected by radiation. But is it that they don't look the same, or is it that they're actually changing to live in that environment? And if that's true, that's exactly what's happening to start evolving on other planets. And when you hear of your DNA altering and these star children coming through with amazing talents and that, they're not like the ordinary Joe down the street. These people are like really evolving and really evolved people. And maybe some of them are from other planets, which I don't dispute. They probably are. But the fact that we're seeing these changes is definitely that we're evolving in lots of ways, including the animals. Lots of the animals are going extinct. And hey, I don't disclaim that a lot of that's our fault for taking away their land and everything. But even so, the explorers go in the rainforests, and they're finding new species all the while. So you can get into all the political debates about this, that, and the other, but you also have to accept that maybe it's a natural thing, you know?
Right. No, I'm looking through your book now because I can't get enough of. There was one image that I can't find. I'm going to try to find it, but it just resonated with me. But this is I want to give people an example of some of the beings. So this is that right there. I don't know if people can see that.
Yeah.
It is an example of one of the beings you drew.
And this is her book.
E.T. as Artist is the name of the book. And I guess my question is it confusing for you when you get these messages to say, okay, they're coming through, an energy is coming through to you, and you're like, well, you're from planet this, and this is this, and da-da-da. But I would imagine sometimes you have no clue where it's coming from.
No.
But all you're getting is this, your hand starts scribbling, and the next thing there's this ET being,
Imagine,
in a robe. And I noticed there's a lot of ceremonial stuff in this. It seems like there's ceremonial headgear, jewelry, that it's actually their culture. Is that would that be looking into it too much, or is that what you're getting?
No, that's correct. Yeah. It's the same as the cultures we've had in the past. It's actually very much like ourselves, set in a different environment and advanced or already established, if that's the right word.
Right.
And if you think of having pen pals, letter friends to write to on the other side of our planet, and you'd think that what would your first letter look like when you're just getting to know someone? What would you tell them about yourself? Maybe your name, your country, your favorite foods, or something like that. And so, let alone establishing a language. And somewhere with a lot of the star children, it's easier for them to communicate artistically. And in some cases, when
that's correct,
right, we don't have a telephone to call them, so they're going to use the next best thing.
Yeah, lots of autistic children react to light and images and that, but don't feel enabled to speak, and that's because they understand that language is there. When you say light language, I would imagine that's what you really call light language.
Yeah.
Right.
You look at bright lights and
It's
shapes
beautiful.
and patterns.
It's
So
beautiful. I love it.
it's unbelievable. Yeah. And to clarify for our listeners and viewers, what kinds of beings are sending you these images?
All sorts of beings.
Okay.
Let's see. I bought one of my books down, which is ETs and Information.
I wanted to show people this. This is one of your. This was
one of the animals.
That is so that resonated with me. Like I kind of wanted to hang out with that. That is. And what's really cool about it is there's writing next to it. Really interesting writing next to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is some kind of an animal or species, sentient thing.
You see these symbols here. There's some are long.
Right.
Hindu monks have this. They call it shu, and Ibrahim Karim's have very long lines with squiggles, and he calls them bioenergy signatures that correspond to different organs in your physical body. So there must. It's a biology.
While you're drinking, Jack. It's dry thing. It's awful.
Yeah, exactly. No, because I think when people read, they're going to look at this book and they're going to, first of all, like I would love if I'll tell this to anyone who gets this book, there are going to be some of these that you want to frame. That you would say, hey, Faye, can you send an 8x10 or 15x18? I want to frame it because it's so beautiful and it resonates with me. And I really have you gotten that yet? Have you gotten people saying, Faye, this is amazing?
I did a one for Miguel. He's got one framed.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Fell in love with.
That's awesome. Very cool. Now, you mentioned in the book something about guest drawers.
Oh, yeah.
Drawers.
I love the guest drawers. The guest drawers don't come as ETs or anything. It's just like pure consciousness that wants an image. So a guest drawer, I'll just get an image that comes through. And I'm just trying to find one. And then they just sign it at the end as a guest drawer. And then they usually thank me for drawing them. Crazy, I know.
It's so great. With these, I went to a seance. I've been to seance before. And they've done this for 50, 60 years, so it's turned into quite a ritual where you have a photograph of the person who's going to communicate, right? And they say you have to make an appointment with spirit, and so I'm guessing this 3:00 appointment it must have been really honored because they're coming, number one. Yeah, I try to tell people too is people find this so entertaining and exciting, but it's also work. You also must be committed because they don't have to communicate with us. They don't have to, right?
There's an example of a guest drawer. Wait a minute.
Oh, wow.
He looks a bit like an Indian chief, but you see there.
Yellow headpiece.
He signed his name or whatever.
And they'll give you names that you have no idea what the name
sometimes it's the name. Sometimes it's like that. Or just a mark, and,
but it's not like Fred or Joe. It's some strange.
Something I can't understand usually.
No, I'm a guest drawer today. My name's Joe.
What names?
Yeah, I mean, so these are definitely people. I say beings from other. Yeah, that's where it blows your mind because this could be interdimensional, correct? I mean, there could be an interdimensional element to this. I feel like. Some of these,
say you was a native in the jungle and you'd never seen a reflection of yourself, and then all of a sudden you look in a mirror and you see an image, and that's what it's like for the guest drawers. That makes it easier to understand.
I see. Yep. I bet you, and you probably know this, but I'm just taking a guess that some may not even have let's say corporal beings, but like not have bodies. It could be pure energy. So they're not sitting there drawing anything with a hand. They can't. So
That's
they're doing
right.
it through you. Okay.
And when they come through as guest drawers, they can be anything they want. It's like when you're a kiddie and you want to draw something, you draw anything you want, a monster, your mum or your dad or whatever. And when they come through as guest drawers, some come as animals or other things. It's just how they see themselves in an image.
Right.
So it's quite interesting.
I would say, I mean, Fay, I gotta ask you this. Why do you think why you?
I haven't a clue. The only thing I can think of is why it's me. Is going back to when I left school at age 15, because I had to go to work to help the family out because my mum had 4 children. And so I never had no further education. So I was like virgin subject, so to speak, because if I'd been trained in art, like I said earlier on, I would have, every image would have had to been right. Whereas because I was like a virgin subject, shall I say, totally unaware of paranormal, totally unaware of any art stuff. I'm not saying I never saw a picture and liked it, because I did, but that's as far as it went. So because there was no boundaries there to make my mind think otherwise, then it was just, and that's the only way I think I was chosen. But saying that, I did have experiences earlier on as a child, which funnily enough, it's only in the last few months I've remembered.
Oh.
And I remember when I was young and we went to a trailer park for a holiday near the sea. And we never had any toilets in the caravan or trailer we was in. And so you had to go to the washroom, which was in the middle of the park. And I remember going in the daytime to go to the toilet and counting each trailer to the toilet so I could find my way back, because they all look the same. But I never remembered till a couple of months ago about this. But I remember going in that washroom and coming out, going in the daylight and coming out, and it was pitch black. And I couldn't find my way back. And I was missing for a few hours. But I've only recently remembered that, and that's from childhood. So it could have been happening before, and I've not recalled it.
And we have so many questions. Sorry. You know, we're a little bit. That's. Did you say that you have created 2,000 of these images?
Over 2,000. I've got chests upstairs full of books with them all in.
And how do you know when the image is complete? I know this might be a very strange question, but how do you recognize, is it a strong feeling that it's finished, that it's okay, now that that piece is done, I can put it aside?
I just know when it's done. Usually you'll get writing or you can get a little signature, or it just ends. It's almost like when you're cooking and you go to the oven and you look in there and you think, that's done, take it out.
Okay.
It's done.
Sure.
You just know it. Well, Krista, how do you know a channeling session's done?
Well, what I was thinking about what Vivi and I were mentioning in the previous episode about a channeling or a psychic reading comes full circle. The information tends to repeat itself. But a friend of mine who's an artist, Zoe, she makes a circle first with a pencil, and then she starts coloring inside of the circle. So I figured, once you fill up the circle, but I don't think you're using a template. You're just allowing it to. You take the pen in your hand and you sit there, right? Maybe.
And it just happens. It'll just start with a dot or a squiggle, and then the lines just add, and the thing you have to learn is that if a line looks in a funny place, then you just leave it there, because that's where it's supposed to be. Whereas if you were doing art, you'd think, oh, that I need to get rid of that. That's not right. But you just let it flow. It's almost like if you pick a pen up and paper and closed your eyes and just did it.
Right.
I mean,
what do you use to draw these? Just pencil?
See, the same question.
normal pen.
Whoa.
Well, that's just a pen.
That's just a pen. Oh my goodness.
But I've got to tell you this, because this is mind blowing to me. But, about 3 weeks ago, I had this desire to paint. I have never painted anything, and when I was getting all my drawings, oh, we've lost you somewhere. Oh, sorry.
Oh, can you not see us? We're
you
still
hear
here.
us?
Oh, that's it. Mine disappeared for a minute. It's the ETs.
Hey guys, just 5 more minutes.
Oh my God. That's so funny.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
Then she's all yours.
Yeah.
The funniest things happen because I've never painted before. And about 3 weeks ago, I just needed to paint. And I'm thinking, I've not painted stuff before. I always draw it. And I did this painting. I'll put them in so I can show you, but I don't know whether you'll get it all on. I'm actually putting it in an exhibition. And don't ask me how I did it, because I don't know. Let me get it up. I don't know whether you'll see it.
Oh my gosh.
Can
Wow.
you see it?
Yes, we can see it. That's beautiful. Look at the colors in that.
You didn't make that. You didn't make that.
Oh, wow.
Planets. And
I love
then straight after I did that one, I did this one.
that. Makes me feel so happy. I don't know why. Oh my goodness.
And would you use to paint that with?
Just, do you know what? I never had no paints, no paint. I just went around the local supermarket and I got kiddies paint.
She made that with a toothbrush.
I know exactly. A toothbrush.
And brushes and did it. But where it came from, I don't know. And that one's with the planet on was called the Silent Planets. But the big one I showed you for a start, that other one I've just showed you before that was the strangest one, because for about 2 weeks I had that image in my head, and I even dreamt about it twice, and
Wow.
knew exactly how it had to go on there.
Yeah.
And I changed it several times because I know it wasn't right. So
Wow.
I whether they're moving me on to different art, but I'm still doing my pen art. I don't know. I'm just waiting for the next one to come now. If I get another one, I might never get another one.
Yeah.
Wow. And you know that place exists because you're getting it. That's a real
that's
place.
Definitely.
That's so
You
cool.
just moved when you see it.
You know, you need to get in touch with Tracy Taylor, Faye. I don't know if you know who she.
Yes.
I've never met her, but I know Mary Rodwell works with her a lot, doesn't she?
Yeah, she can get you in touch with her because there's a familiarity. Her work is different, but there's almost like a geometric pattern. There's a patterns to her.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I it would be worthwhile for the two of you to speak.
Oh, I'd love to speak to Tracy. Yeah.
She's wonderful.
She's been doing that art for a number of years, hasn't she?
Yes.
And,
yeah, she's a hybrid, and she's had experiences very, very similar to yourself.
Do you all, before we go for today, do you have a website, Faye, a Facebook page where we can find?
Oh, I've got loads of stuff. I've got a website. It's called www.galacticart.co.uk. And I've got my normal Facebook page, which is Fay Vale, which I do a Monday blog and do put drawings on. I've got a Facebook page called Galactic Art. And I've also got a page called ET Connections. And the reason I put ET Connections up was because so many people were contacting me who had experiences. And so I formed a group, and I've got over 100 people in that group now who've had experiences. And it's just somewhere where people can go and feel comfortable about the subjects that are going on. So,
and where can they get the book?
Amazon, or
Okay.
you can get it off my website as well. If you get it off my website, you get a signed one.
And we got to give a quick shout out to our good friend Miguel Mendonça, who helped you publish
you did
this.
ask me to say hello to you both from him.
Hi, Miguel.
He's awesome, but he really was the one he saw this and was like, this has to be in book form. So good for him.
Yeah, he did. And he's a great friend now. We talk quite often on the phone.
That's great.
Well, this all makes sense. I hope Jacqueline Smith sees this episode. She's been drawing as well. So thank you so much for.
It's so nice to meet you both. You're both awesome people.
So are you.
Same, Faye. Really, really nice to meet you too.
Thanks, everyone, and definitely check out I Know I'm Getting the Book, and we'll see you next time.